Welcome to our week 5 now of the Better Health and Wealth Challenge. We're so excited because we have Z on the call tonight, and she has been absolutely amazing. I'm going to tell you a little bit of her accomplishments, but the main thing I want you to know is just that we reached out to her a couple weeks ago to get this started, and since then she's just been so nice, and I'm like, oh, it's so cool to meet somebody, that's so passionate about this and so organized, and somebody that I really admire. So she started coaching in June of 2015. She had only been a challenger for 2 weeks before she decided that she's going to coach. And this is the really cool thing, because not only has she only done it for 2 weeks, but now she's hit Success Club every month since she started. So came in as a challenger and has not missed a Success Club month since June of 2015 when she started. And that's helped her probably be able to quit her corporate job, which she was able to do in November of 2016. So, almost a little over a year. And then last year she went from Diamond to 5-star and Elite. So that's pretty darn cool. The Elite list last year was like super tiny too. So that was it's always a huge accomplishment, but that's even bigger for last year, because I know that was not easy. And now her husband's even an active builder, and he's close to 2-star. So that's just a little bit about everything that she's accomplished. Plus, she's just got so much going on in her life right now with baby on the way and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and hush so I can hand it over to her. So she's going to be talking about coaching and how she stays organized with all of the stuff she does. So I'll hand it over to you, Z. Thank you for being on our call.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and for the very sweet introduction. I told you this when you were on our call, but I'll say it again here for your team to hear, and that's that I actually followed you guys before you ever reached out to me, so I was really honored to hear from you. And even some of my coaches were like, every time we search recipes, we end up on your website. So I feel like I've already known you guys for quite a while. When we first talked, there were 2 subjects that we talked about that I talk about today, and I've got a couple pages of notes, and then I can, open up for questions. And that was building my team recruiting and also kind of the time management side of it. And the recruiting part, I like to always start with my own story, because I was only a challenger for 2 weeks, and I was never asked to be a coach, which can, if you think about how often do you ask your challengers in the first 2 weeks, usually you're pretty focused on just helping them see their results. But I was also someone that didn't necessarily fit it wasn't an immediate need to be a coach from the outside. I was very vocal about wanting to be a VP in my company. I was that was, if you saw me on the outside, it's okay, I wore a power suit to work every day. It was a very conservative environment. And it wasn't necessarily a financial need that coaching fit for me, but as many other stories I've heard, I just wasn't believing this lifestyle was sustainable long term. I was engaged, and I thought I can barely see my fiance right now. So 2 weeks in, I signed up to be a coach. And prior to that, I didn't even understand really how this all worked. My very first customer, I actually gave to my coach. I said, hey, my friend wants to join. How does she sign up? And she signed up under her. And then I had a few more girlfriends that wanted to sign up. I just loved the program so much that I was telling everyone about it, and it just happened really organically. And I didn't like the date that my coach picked for her challenge. And so I thought, okay, well, I really should just do this myself. How do I do this coaching thing? And that's really what launched me, and that's why I hit Success Club, was because I wanted to control the date of the challenge. So I ran my own challenge right away. I got my first check, and I sent a picture to my coach, and I said, how much of this do I get to keep? Because I really had no expectation of money. So I share that story because you just never know who actually may fall in love with this business, but there are little things along the way that you can look for. And that first one being that I was extremely active in the challenge group. I had a very busy life, but for some reason, I knew I needed to be active in the challenge group from day one. I knew that if I wasn't, I wasn't going to see the results that I really desperately needed and wanted. So when you see those challengers in your groups right away that are active, that are participating, you don't have to wait to talk to them. You don't really have to wait at all. And I'll talk about kind of my process with that. So before I go into recruiting, there's 2 books that I really like, and you guys may have already read these, but I'll just mention them. It's GoPro by Eric Worre, which is a really popular one. And then Get Over Your Damn Self. I love that book, and that one really helped me step up my recruiting game, not just for challengers, but for people that have maybe never done my groups before. So there's really two buckets that I think of when I'm building my team, and that's, coach to challenger, or there's the second one, which so coach to challenger, which you might not have heard it said like that, and then challenger to coach. So the coach to challenger are people who I would present the business opportunity to first. And I say coach to challenger because it's still very important they do a challenge right away, even if I'm presenting coaching first. And that might be someone that you knew from a previous life that you really respect as a smart leader. That might be someone who already has maybe a fitness passion. They don't actually have to have like a degree or anything, but they're already posting about fitness. They're passionate about it. Just your dream team. Like, think about who you want to work with. And those first people for me were actually people I worked with in my corporate job. I knew their work ethic, I respected them, and I knew that their life looked a lot like mine, where it was very hard to fit health and fitness into our life. Now, those people, let's say I approach someone that I don't know too well, because sometimes you're linked to someone maybe through social media and you respect them, right? Like, you can gain respect for someone just by watching them, but you don't know them that well. So the first step, and we've heard this a lot, is to build that relationship. And I really would talk about anything but Beachbody when I'm building a relationship. And then when you get to that point where you feel like it's appropriate to invite, here's how I know I'm at that point. If I really can genuinely say the next line, which is, I really love your vibe. If I don't love their vibe, then I'm not going to ask them to join my team, and I really will not. And I think the biggest mistake I see is sometimes coaches think they should just invite anyone and everyone. It's not going to come across genuine, and really, is that really someone you want on your team? So if I get to build a relationship with you via social media and I can genuinely use that line, then I know I'm ready to ask you. And I'll say, hey, by the way, I really love your vibe, and I feel like you represent everything I believe in with my team: strength, empowerment, and women lifting each other up. Are you open to learning more about what I do? Or if it's close enough to a sneak peek, I would invite to a sneak peek. I do have a personal rule that I never invite to a sneak peek if it's not within 24 hours. So if I want to invite someone to talk about coaching and I don't have a sneak peek for another 2 weeks, I'm not going to bring up the sneak peek because I don't want them to have interest and then wait 2 whole weeks. So that's kind of my general rule. And I like to get on the phone. I know that you can do like a Google form. I've done that in the past too. But if someone's like actually interested, I just want to hop on the phone for just a few minutes and have them hear my voice. I do have YouTube videos, and you could always make your own and send something short. There's a lot of different ways, but for me, if I can get someone on the phone for 10 minutes, it almost always ends up going the right direction. And over the phone, I ask them questions about themselves, and then I tell my story. So it's very important to ask about them first. And then I say this question, and I think this is very important when you're recruiting for coaching. Sorry, guys, my cat's going to probably run across the screen. I say to them, when I use the words health and fitness, what comes to mind? And what I'm really looking for is one of two things. I either want them to say, I love health and fitness, I'm super passionate, I absolutely could see myself doing this. Or I'm okay if they say this. You know what, like, I'm really struggling. It's an area that I don't feel confident in. I used to be really good at it. I just can't seem to make it work. So I want to know which bucket they fall into. Depending on that answer, kind of like the more positive about themselves and health and fitness, or more of the negative, I would still present coaching, but I'm going to present it a little differently. And the one that's important is the one where they aren't feeling confident about their health and fitness. Because now I'm going to talk about how coaching can help you improve yourself. And I really hone in on the fact that I became a coach 2 weeks in. I did not have an after photo yet. I did not have really any success in 2 weeks besides that I felt better. But I believe coaching actually forced me to stay on the program and in the program. Because now I didn't go up to people and say, hey, let me coach you. I said, hey, let's do this together. And that's what I tell them. I say, you're not going to automatically just become like this expert in everything, right? But you can go to your friends and say, hey, I have this goal and I've really struggled with this, and this is what I want to do. Do you want to do it together? That's what coaching and starting as a challenger allows you to do. So when I ask that question, then I know which direction the conversation should take. The second bucket is the challenger to coach. And I think that one tends to be a little bit easier for most. And there's still two different types of people that are challengers, though. There's the challengers that crushed it, and then there's the challengers that are struggling. The ones that crushed it are easy, and you would just tell them, like, you're totally crushing it. I think you would be awesome as a coach. Are you open to learning more about this opportunity? Or you can invite to a sneak peek if it's coming up. Now, the ones that are not crushing it, this is where I find a lot of coaches hesitate to invite. And I actually think that I invite these 100% equally as the people who crushed it, because they might be one of those people who would actually do better as a coach. And so that's how I approach it. I say, hey, lady, so one of the reasons I believe I really stuck this program out and I made it a lifestyle was because I became a coach. I'm hosting a sneak peek tomorrow night to share a glimpse into what I do, and I would love to share it with you. Can I add you to the page so you can see for yourself? And that would be for someone that maybe didn't crush the challenge. I'm taking kind of that other route with them. Here's my rule on discount coaches. I only present the discount opportunity if they crush the challenge. And here's why. I've had numerous discount coaches that crushed the challenge, that swore they'd never work the business, that have actually done very well in the business. But I have not really seen many who didn't crush the challenge and then sign up for a discount, because they won't even stay active on Shakeology sometimes, right? So the ones that didn't crush the challenge, I present the business opportunity to them. And if they're going to say yes, they're going to say yes to the business and their own health. But discount, I only present to the people who really crushed it, because then even if they do just sign up for the discount, at least I know they're going to stay active, right? Because they love the challenge and they participate, and they almost always can turn into a coach. Now, all my discount coaches still get a getting started right call if they're willing to hop on. Like, I still put it in front of them. They are still added to the team page. I still do an announcement about them. I include them 100%. Like, I don't treat them any differently. And then when I do a sneak peek, I always do the sneak peek this first Tuesday following the start of a challenge. So our challenge groups always start on a Monday, and then the following Tuesday. That means I'm inviting people a week into the challenge. So very early on, they're getting an invite. And there's a few reasons for that. One, my own story, right? Like, I knew very early on I wanted to do this. But there's another reason too, and that's that the excitement level is highest in the first week. If you've ever heard of like the 4 phases of anything that you do, the first phase is very high excitement. The second phase is where you kind of like dip down and you start like realizing things are a little harder than you thought. And then if you can get past that, it's back up over here, right? I want to catch them before that downturn, right? So I want to catch them when they're still up here, they're still really excited. And if they do end up jumping on to the coaching opportunity early on, we can almost always minimize that dip, is what I've seen in their own health and fitness journey. So I'm within 1 week talking to them about joining the sneak peek. Okay, so that's kind of my recruiting. The next is the time management, but maybe we could stop right here and see if you have any questions on that piece before we go on. Anything you want me to cover again? It's all good? Okay.
We're good.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so when it comes to planning my time and planning my day, for 1.5 years, I was working full-time, so I've really seen both sides of it. And interestingly enough, I feel like I'm more capable of wasting time now than when I had less time. So my time management skills I've had to like really up the game now, because I can waste a lot of time, and that's not what I want. So whenever I talk to someone that tells me they work, I'm like, you can still make this happen. You're actually lucky in a way, because you have to be efficient. But I'll give you guys some tips kind of on both of the things that I did. When I was working full-time, do you have quite a few people on your team that work, or is it like a 50-50?
It's about 50-50, I would say. And even on this call, it's like 50-50.
Okay, perfect. So when I was working, you have to make sure that your sacrifices are in line with your goals. And that's a tough conversation to have with yourself even. I knew I had a full-time teacher. Okay. Um, I knew that I had once I realized the opportunity of the business and that I wanted to, which was about 6 months in, that I really wanted to switch careers. I knew I had a big goal in front of me, and there was only a few things I could sacrifice. My job was not one of them. I was determined to not like fail in my job on the way out. So if you look at the bucket of time, what can you take out? Television is a big one. So I'm not saying it's for life. I love This Is Us and I watch it. But when I was working full time, like whatever was going on TV that everybody was talking about, like I had to make that decision not to watch. And I would hang out with my husband at night, or actually it was my fiance at the time. And I remember sitting on the couch and he could watch something, but I had my computer in my lap. There just wasn't enough time for me to be watching TV. So that was one. The second one was a really tough one to accept that I had to sacrifice, because here I am talking about health and wellness, and so you've got quite a few full-time on the call right now. It was sleep. And for the longest time I was like, well, I shouldn't sacrifice sleep because I'm into health and fitness. And I saw a video from Scotty Hobbs talking about how, he built his business pretty fast when he was working. And he talked about how sleep was something he gave up. Now, I still slept, I didn't like totally give up sleep, but I knew I had to shave some time off of that. I was living in San Francisco. I had a really long commute. So the commute allowed me to make phone calls and do some PD, but at the same time, I was out of the house a lot and I didn't have as much time in front of the computer. So I had to wake up earlier than I had originally planned to get my workout in, and then actually work my business in the morning, and then stay up late. So staying up late, meaning staying up after my husband went to bed. And I would say that's the part that I disliked the most. But interestingly enough, it's amazing how your sacrifices just come back full circle. I am pregnant right now, and I had a really rough time the first trimester. And I remember thinking gosh, that sleep sacrifice I had before, it's so worth it today, because I'm able to I could sleep in now. I could work from bed most, which I really did. The month of December, I don't think I ever got out of my pajamas. I just was not feeling well. And I was so thankful that I did that sacrifice at the time. That felt very painful, but it would have been so much worse to have to be working full time during the first trimester, So that's the interesting thing about sacrifices. They really do come back full circle, and you realize how thankful you are. You did, make that choice. Other things that I did was I woke up earlier than my husband on the weekends, because once he was awake, I wanted to spend time with him. So it was okay, well, if I beat him and I wake up before him, then I can work my business before he's awake. So little things like that, that you have to plan ahead of time. Okay. So when it comes to blocking off my time, whether it's working or now, I really do follow what Melanie Mitro says about having calendar blocks. And she says the very first block is her. She takes care of herself first. And for me, I have Do Not Disturb set up on my phone in the evening, and then all the way to 10 o'clock the next morning, because I want my morning to look like this. I need to do personal development first. I need to do my workout in the morning. That's what works for me. I want to have my shake in peace. And then I want to get my invites done before I talk to my coaches or customers. And so that morning is just blocked off. Now, where I really struggled was I had this blocked off, but then things would show up on my phone, and my phone would pop up during my workout. My phone would go off during, my personal development. So I realized my phone has to stay in my room. During my workout, during personal development, it just cannot be in front of me. And then when I'm inviting, once again, those notifications have to be off. When I'm inviting, I'm not responding. So I'm not responding to invites that are coming in. There's a book called The One Thing. If you haven't heard of it, it kind of talks about how multitasking is actually not the best way to run your business or your life. And we're trying to do so many things that we're not really doing any of them that well. And so I really try to make sure, and this is a work in progress. It's not this is easy for me at all. There's times where I'm oh my gosh, what am I doing? But when I'm inviting, I'm not having a conversation. Those are two different things, and really trying to keep those things separate. it's okay not to respond to people immediately. And when I first started, it was like, I felt like I had to constantly respond. Like if a message comes in, oh my gosh, I better respond. It's dinner time, it's evening time. Set those hours and what's acceptable and what's not for you, and stick to it. I try to always respond to everybody within 24 hours. But if you're going to message me at 9 o'clock at night and it's a message that I really want, like, hey, I'm ready to join you, join your team, I still don't respond, even though it's that message where like you feel like you want to right away. I had to put a stop on that behavior because I was, at the mercy of everybody else for the longest time, and it just wasn't working. Let's see. There's a million systems out there. Like I like Google Streak to manage my pipeline, but I'm kind of old fashioned when it comes to a to-do list, and I have a clipboard that I use. And I print one of these sheets out for the week, and it has Monday through Saturday. I don't work on Sundays. And it has daily tasks at the top, and then it has every other day or weekly tasks, and then it has monthly. And when I look at this, like, this is why I put this together, because my monthly tasks are a lot more fun than my daily tasks. Like, just to give you an example, my daily tasks are stuff like, send out 26 invites, book a new coach call, LinkedIn recruiting. Like, it's all the stuff that's like work, right? The monthly stuff is fun. It's like a blog post. It's like put together a free group, do marketing stuff. Or the weekly, it's all the stuff that I could get, and that's my personality. Like I could get really caught up in Canva and spending a ton of time doing the creative stuff and ignore all my daily. And then at the end of the day, I think I'm super productive, except I didn't do any of the things that I really needed to do. So what I implemented with this is, okay, these daily tasks have to get done before I start doing those other tasks on the weekly or the monthly. Those daily have to come first. And that's why I put it in order. And I'm happy to share this with you guys if any of you want to see it. And I just print one out for every week and check it off. It's super old fashioned, but it works for me. The other thing I'll say is, for those of you that are working full time, I joke around, but there's some truth to it, that I built this business in the bathroom, because anytime I could take a break from my job and like run to the restroom, I'm like, okay, I'll just respond to someone. And that really is what it is, right? Like it's the whole pockets of power hour instead of just like big chunks. Like I could get the big chunks early in the day or in the evening, but in the middle of the day, it was close to impossible to make that happen unless you could pull off like a working lunch, but I barely even had that. So I know someone just said that would be helpful. I will definitely, I'll send this over so you guys can post it in your group page. And then Google Streak. Yes, so Google Streak is what I use to manage my pipeline. I've used Teamsy in the past, which I think Teamsy is great to communicate with people, but Streak allows you to, does anyone use Streak on here right now? No? So you can have your Google Forms drop into Streak, which is what I really like, and it creates like little boxes, and then there's a pipeline at the top. And I have one for my challengers, I have one for prospects, one for coaches, and you can save all of your emails and then auto send them through mail merge to like this group of people, and then you move people from your pipeline. So I'd move like a lead, but it lets me view how it's being moved over. If you want to learn about it, Brooke Lipoff, I think, has a YouTube video that's really good on how to use Streak for pipeline management. And it's totally free, which is really nice. And I actually, of all the programs I've seen, free or paid, I happen to think it is actually the best one out there, because you can automatically set up your Google Forms to download into it. So that works really well to control and manage my pipeline. And then this is kind of my like daily action items. That's it.
Wow, that was so awesome. And yeah, like I think I'll have to look up the video, so I'll post Brooke's video if I can find it. But yeah, if you don't mind sharing your to-do list, I think that would be really neat.
Absolutely. I'll do you want me just to like, I can just put it in our little Facebook thread.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to know?
I'm curious on Streak, because we've always used Asana, but Streak sounds pretty cool.
Is Asana, is it like a pipeline management as well, or is it like Teamsy?
I've never used TeamZ, so I don't know. I can set up projects and share them with other team members, but I literally have to move somebody to a different project. So say they're a potential client, I have to move them to a new project. Now they're a client or a potential coach, but I can set up due dates to check
I
back.
still have to move them. The form, if they fill out like the coaching form, it would automatically populate to that one. But if I moved them from a customer to coach, I would have, they call it pipeline.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have to manage that myself. I mean, if you have something built on Asana, I don't know if it would make sense to switch. Brooke's videos will explain it. But for a coach that's new, what I like is that it's also free.
Yeah.
You know, so it allows them to have like a full pipeline and not pay for it, which is
right.
pretty. Yeah.
So you said, I know that you mentioned it, that Google Streak, like you can link to Google Sheets, I think you said.
Google Forms. Mm-hmm.
Like the forms. Okay. So like if you had somebody fill out like an interest form, it goes straight to that. Because I actually have been using Google Sheets for about a year for my tracking. Like, so I have the same things at the top and keep track that way. And then the last few weeks I've just been writing names in my planner, so I was curious about that. And I was also curious if on your list of like to-dos, because I was thinking, you know, we all have sort of our own style, so you know, I might make my own, but I was curious if you actually put the names in that, or if it was more of like your checklist daily and then your names went in streak, I guess.
It's totally just a checklist for the to-dos. I don't put any names. So the like names of who I'm working with, that it all goes into streak in a pipeline. Yeah, but this would just be like a checklist, and it's a Word doc, so you guys can easily like take out stuff that wouldn't apply to you and put your own stuff in. But with Google Sheets, I think you can track like your own system, but what Streak will allow you to do that's a little more detailed than Sheets is, you know, you can actually send emails through Streak. And so like if I've got like all these people sitting in this bucket of, you know, they filled out an interest form, they've shared their goals, that would be like the second or third like part of my pipeline, but they're just sitting there, like they're not responding, they're not really doing anything else. I can craft up like a nice, like maybe challenge or spotlight before and after email and just kind of mass email everybody in there. And then I can also see who's opened it up, which you can do with Gmail by itself. But from Streak, I can move them in the pipeline from there. And then one thing I try to do is like just see how long they've been sitting in each stage, which I think you could probably do in Asana as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's how I kind of base all my goals, is like get them out of that stage as fast as possible.
Yeah. I know you have mentioned like on your daily to-do, you do 26 invites. Is that like 26 new friends? Is it 26 new people to a challenge group to just be friends with and build that relationship? Or what do you consider your—
I call it invites, but they're probably conversations is what they are. They're 26. And I got that from Haley Christensen. And it's so silly, but it makes sense. It's 26 lines on a notepad. And so I do have this book. I call it my brain book. And so I just, like I have like a few sections in here. And I call it like this section right here is just my daily peeps. And so I write down 26 names. It's maybe people that like my Facebook post, people that watch my Instagram story, like any 26 I can get to. And all sorts of people, like some of them maybe they ghosted me a year ago. So whoever ends up on that list is getting a message, and it's going to be either like a, hey, thanks for the like, or hey, I noticed this on your page. Just a conversation starter. Some of them, if they keep popping up on my list and we've like already talked, then it's going to be an invite to something, but I follow this just because I love how she said it, and it forces me to at least do 26.
Yeah.
I
think that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, this book. And then what I do is it's fun to go back to, like I'll put a star by everyone that responds, but then sometimes you forget about like someone that responded, but then you never talk to them again, you never see them again. And so if I am doing invites, like I just go back through it and I'm like, okay, anyone who ever got a star is just going to get an invite today. Like, because at some point they interacted with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just gives me like a list of names.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. And it keeps your friends engaged. Because I know like one of our things that we started last year was looking at birthdays. So like if it was somebody that just totally didn't match, like when it's their birthday, we can either send them a message or we can go, oh, let's unfriend.
That's actually really smart. That way you can kind of slowly clean out your Facebook friends without getting overwhelmed with it too.
Yeah.
You'll hit everybody by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. And I know you mentioned LinkedIn too. Are you do you focus mostly on like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or a mix?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I mean, I would say if you were up for like a whole other training, I'm more than happy to do one. I am very passionate about LinkedIn recruiting because LinkedIn is for recruiting. It was actually made for recruiting. And so I have a free account. I had a paid account in the past, and I finally realized the free one is actually the most effective. I send out about 20 to 25 connections a day on LinkedIn. If you do any more, you could be put in LinkedIn jail, so you don't want to do more than that. But what I love about LinkedIn is I can actually search for demographics. So, I mean, I know, did a couple of you guys on the call already say you're teachers, right? And then I know Kim and Kaylee, you guys are both teachers too, right?
Yep.
So obviously we know, and teachers are really strong in MLMs. And so I do teacher searches all day long, and I search all over the country, which you can't do on Facebook and Instagram. So I can really like hone in on what I want. I can search for prior positions. I can search for current industry. I can search. It just, as long as you start building your base slowly, your search expands because you're searching second connections. So if you start with 200 people, you're searching their second connections, and then you're going to grow. So I send 20 to 25 a day connections so I don't get put in jail. Then the next day, everybody who responded to me gets the same start to the message. Thank you so much for the connection. It's great to meet you. I look for something on their page like, hey, I see that, you're a teacher. How did you get into teaching? I don't want to ask if they like it because everybody always says they love their job, whether they love it or not, especially to a recruiter. And then I don't want to say, how long have you been there? Which is a question a lot of people ask because it says it right on their profile. So I always say, like, how did you get into that? I want to hear their story. As soon as they respond, I start that dialogue. And then very quickly, because you don't have to build a relationship as long on LinkedIn, I say, are you open to other income earning opportunities? If I do the 20 to 25 method, and then I respond to everybody who accepted, I can usually book 2 to 3 coach calls a day on LinkedIn.
Wow.
It's absolutely and I would say what got me to Elite at the end of last 6 months was LinkedIn. My last diamond coaches came from there, and LinkedIn people look at this so differently. Now they crushed it in the challenge. You just can't come into this business and just want to make money. They've got to really fall in love with the product. But it's a totally different social media platform in the sense where people don't think you're a weirdo, or they're not putting up the stops that you're approaching them to talk about a business.
Gotcha. That makes sense. But yeah, that sounds awesome. I'll have to trade calls again.
I'm happy to do that. LinkedIn is, I'm really passionate about it. I think as a company, we have a lot of opportunity because there aren't a lot of people from the industry, the MLM industry on there, where, Facebook is insanely saturated now.
Yeah.
And I don't think LinkedIn will be that way forever. So I think we have this short window of time where I really hope we could totally take it over.
Yeah. I like it.
I think it's really smart you mentioned teachers too, because I've struggled. I know that's my ideal client because teachers in North Carolina make $9,000 below what teachers in most of the country make. And so, I know who I want to reach, but it's now I feel like it's gotten harder. So that makes me feel less defeated. Is your first message just the regular link, or do you personalize it? That's just
the connect message, you mean? The one where you're connecting? I don't put anything because here's why. Where that pops up, they almost never see it.
Right.
When someone sends you the connect, that little personalized message, the way LinkedIn has formatted it, it doesn't really show up well. So it's a waste of my time to put it in. I wait for them to accept, and then I will. And for those of you that don't know, LinkedIn was bought out by Microsoft last year, and they put a ton of money into really revamping it. They just released live video. They're slowly releasing it to the people who actually use LinkedIn. But I could see it just, I'm watching it grow and grow. And I've been on LinkedIn for a long time, but it's just amazing how the platform and the people, people are really engaged on it. So for you, I would immediately start connecting with teachers in your area in North Carolina. And teachers are great because, I mean, any industry where you're underpaid for how much work you do, or your hours are like nursing. Nursing is a really good one too. So teachers and nurses are great ones to look for. But if you yourself are a teacher and you experience that pain, I'm not approaching people on LinkedIn saying like, you should look into this to quit your job. I'm saying like, are you open to other income earning opportunities? And teachers are usually the first to say, yeah, tell me more. I'm curious.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have about 2.5 minutes. Does anybody else have any questions? We're still on the free plan, so it'll cut off in 2.5 minutes.
Well, I will send you the to-do list, and then if you guys want to like play around on LinkedIn, and then we could do a call after. I think that's always good. And I can even share a screen and show you guys. That's how I get work done around here. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm really excited. I gotta go play because I have a lot of connections on there too. It's just, now I have to start reaching out to them and connecting with more people.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on tonight.
Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.